So, Kinera? What? They're a brand known for making quite fancy IEMs, and I'm sure most of you guys already know, which is exactly what I thought about them until I go into these. Now, unlike other Kinera IEMs, and despite actually looking pretty damn good, they're a different level of fancy, which is glaringly obvious if you take into consideration the absolute lack of effort that they have put into naming these things. I mean, but the BD005 Pros, what? The best thing that I could come up with was B for balanced armatures, D for dynamics because they have one of each in terms of drivers. Numbers 1 through 4 didn't work because, let's say, they were failed attempts, which is a nicer way of saying that those iterations like sucked and sounded terrible. So BD005 Pros it is, because if you add Pro to the name, it's obviously better. Now, the second way these differ from the usual Kinera stuff is in the fact that they are going to set you back about $50, so they're smack dab in the middle of the budget category. Which isn't to say that these are an automatic bargain because they are a pair of Kinera IEMs for $50. Anyways, I still like very much to see the fact that Kinera hasn't skimped on the presentation, on the experience here. The presentation starts with this hexagonal box that houses the case, which then has the IEMs inside, with a package of extra tips plus the cable. This is a nice spread. Now the cable is, well, average, so not terrible and not the best cable you could have, but it does a good job. It's a regular 2-pin, it has a mic built into it, it's a right angle connector, it's lightweight, and because of that, it's fairly comfortable, which is obviously aided by the IEMs themselves being quite small and light, which is another point in their favor. Sitting like just right in my ears, even though for the shape, it's not exactly like the perfect size for the fit. But still, this polycar build is like fancy IEM shaped and I love it. It's super comfortable even with the stock tips, and to me at least it creates a fantastic seal with zero discomfort long term. Really nice thing to have here. And they look gorgeous. Simple as that. This flowy red paint sort of vibe with gold sprinkles with flakes and plus the Kinera name also in gold. It just looks so good. Like, But one of the most impressive things about the boot actually were the tips that they have included, because they have an odd, pretty unique shape that I have never seen before. Like, they're short and they don't really look like they're gonna do anything that much differently from your usual options, and at least for me, they work. Nice job. I didn't even feel like I absolutely had to use the 005 Pros with foam tips to get the most out of them, which can be a really good thing because I know for a fact that a bunch of you guys either don't enjoy or can't use foam tips for various reasons. So there you go. Bonus points for you. In terms of power, they aren't especially hard to drive, but they do, like, compared to most other IEMs around the $50 range that I had at hand to be able to compare, they do require a little bit more power. Not to the point that you're going to have like lots of trouble driving them with anything, but you, depending on how much you want to blast your ears off, you probably will end up needing some sort of extra amplification for your 005 Pros, which I wouldn't doubt it's because of the mixed usage of both the beryllium diaphragm dynamic and the balanced armature driver that they're using. Now, let's talk sound. The 005 Pros have been hyped up quite a bit since launch, and at first I was absolutely sure it was the brand thing. But then I got them in hand, started testing them, and in fact, the 005 Pros really sound very good. They are V-shaped to an extent, but not because of a lack in the mid-range per se, and more because they have a more forward, bright, sharp high end that's also backed up by the kicking of the low end, which is pretty strong and brings up quite a bit of rumble, because these things aren't just, punchy and quick with the bassy notes. They actually do fill in the space with a very good amount of that underlying low end, and a lot of quality and detail in that low end too, which is actually kind of across the board. It is a very nice experience. And now that I have said that something below $50 has excellent low end, I didn't actually say the word excellent, but yes, they do have excellent low end. I am sure questions are going to start popping up comparing these to the blonde BL03s, BL05s, and even the triple win TC01s, all of which I have recommended multiple times in the past. So, to appease your curiosities, I'd say that these are more detail-oriented. They are sharper and they are more aggressive. Now, to me, neither of the other three have ever been exactly relaxed IEMs. But in this comparison, those three are the more relaxed ones. And it's not to say that the 005 Pros are like too much in your face all the time like the 10 T2 Plus was. And I don't really think that they are offensive by any means, but they do feel like they're a little bit more pushy, a little bit more aggressive, perhaps because of that extra level of detail that it has to work with. Now, as with most IEMs that I have tested with, multiple drivers, especially ones that used balanced armatures, it doesn't really surprise me that the sound stage isn't exactly super wide, but at least it doesn't go the opposite direction into being way too claustrophobic. It's almost like you have a further separation, a different level of the stage for both the vocals being a bit more forward and closer to you, while the instrumentation is a tad further backwards. And it's not exactly about the vocals being closer, it's more like the upper higher range of the spectrum, but still, that separation, that two-step stage actually works really well in a bunch of different scenarios. And as a bonus, the imaging within that borderline schizophrenic soundstage is actually spot on. Like really spot on. But all of that is not to say that I think these are IEMs that anyone would enjoy. They are a bright, detailed, and perhaps more importantly, forward IEM with great bass. And come to think of it, and I don't like to admit this because I love those little shiny things, but they are a better version of the TC01. This is perhaps the best way to describe the 005 Pros that I can get to right now. Maybe that's not your thing either, Steve, but still, I really think they are really good for the money. I'd 100% recommend the 005 Pros, even with the stupid name. And yes, it is a stupid name. And that's been it. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you a lot for watching, and I'll catch you guys later.